Hello, my fellow minor league nerds, and welcome to our latest franchise history series episode. In this episode, I will cover the Atlanta Black Crackers. This episode continues our series of honoring fellow Curved Brim Media members and honors Patrick Larson of the MILB Hat History series. In 1867, the National Association of Baseball Players, the first organized body governing baseball, which was spelled as two words back then, rejected the application by the Pythians of Philadelphia, who were led by Octavius V. Cato, to join the organization due to the fact that they were a black ball club. Thus began the segregation of baseball in the United States. In 1885, the Cuban Giants, the first organized semi-pro black ball club, was formed by waiters at the Argyle Hotel in Babylon, New York, to entertain hotel guests. A year later, the Southern League of Colored Baseballists was organized. We just covered the league in a Minor League Nerd special episode, which you should definitely check out if you haven't done so already. Around the same time, black teams started forming around Atlanta at Atlanta University and Clark University, with the two schools merging to form Clark Atlanta University in 1988 and Atlanta Baptist College, now Morehouse College. From 1890 to 1897, Atlanta University went undefeated except for one loss to Baptist College. In 1896, the Atlanta Baseball League was formed by James A. Nabrett of Atlanta Baptist. The teams were made up of players from the city's black colleges, with a silk pennant being awarded to the league winner. The Atlanta Baptist Tigers won it in 1896, 1897, 1898, and 1900. At the same time the Atlanta Baseball League was playing, the city's first professional black team was formed, named the Deppins. They would tour around the South playing teams from New Orleans, Birmingham, Macon, Chattanooga, and elsewhere. The Deppins were eventually succeeded by the Atlanta Cubs in 1919. The summer of 1919 is known as Red Summer due to white supremacist terrorist acts and race riots that occurred in more than 36 cities across the country and in one rural county in Arkansas. This was the atmosphere in which the Atlanta Cubs were formed. They were founded by a group of local businessmen who recruited athletes from the same colleges that fielded teams in the Atlanta Baseball League. The Cubs played their home games at Ponce de Leon Park, home of the white Atlanta Crackers of the Southern Association. Crackers general manager Frank Reynolds realized that he could make additional money by renting out the ballpark to the Cubs while his team was out of town. The Cubs, who were an independent team that year, were a hard-hitting club that did well against a variety of opponents while touring all throughout the South. They decided to change their name to the Atlanta Black Crackers because apparently that was what most people were already calling them. Looking at it today, it does seem odd for an all-black team to call itself the Black Crackers. But according to journalist Francis Ward, in 1920, nobody thought anything of it. Quoting Ward here, people didn't regard the word cracker as synonymous with being an ardent white racist. Because of this habit of the black team adopting the name of the white team, nobody really thought much of it then. In 1920, the Black Crackers were taken over by W.J. Bill Shaw, who worked in insurance. He moved to Atlanta from Brunswick, Georgia. He also owned a social club that held rooftop garden dances at the Odd Fellows Building and Auditorium, which was located on Auburn Avenue, which was the heart and soul of the African American community in Atlanta. The profits from his social club helped finance the Black Crackers. A number of players on the team also played in the club's orchestra. The team was run on a shoestring budget, only carrying 12 players, which led them to playing more than one position. Like elsewhere in baseball, there was no such thing as a relief pitcher. If a pitcher was pulled, he was moved to the outfield to finish out the game. Player turnover was constant. Like the Cubs before them, many of the early players joined from the same local colleges. Their equipment and uniforms were hand-me-downs from the White Crackers. When the White Crackers played at Ponce de Leon Park, seating was segregated, with black fans having to sit in the bleachers in left, an area they called Buzzard's Roost. When the Black Crackers played there, fans could sit anywhere in the park they wished, with them drawing large crowds of both black and white fans. Even with the large crowds coming out to support them in Atlanta, they struggled financially, being unable to travel north to play the major Negro League teams. In March 1920, the Negro Southern League was formed as a minor league, with the Black Crackers being a charter member. They were joined in the league by the Knoxville Giants, the Montgomery Gray Sox, the Birmingham Black Barons, the New Orleans Caulfield Ads, the Nashville White Sox, the Pensacola Giants, and the Jacksonville Stars. The fee to join the league was $200, roughly $3,600 today. They had a mediocre season, finishing 39 and 37, but drew well enough to return to the league in 1921. Like most black ball clubs at the time, the Black Crackers played a mixed schedule of league and exhibition games, with most of their money coming from the exhibition games. They didn't play many games in Atlanta during that season, spending it mostly on the road, playing in front of large crowds. They made more money than 1920, mostly due to not having to pay to play at Ponce de Leon Park, but they continued to struggle financially. They did not return to the Negro Southern League in 1922 due to their financial struggles and inability to find enough quality players to join the team. College players did not want to join because they would lose their eligibility to play in college if they played for money. Without quality players, they could not draw well, and thus were not able to pay the rental fee to play at Ponce de Leon Park. This led to them playing as a barnstorming team through 1924. In 1925, businessmen H.J. Peak and George Strickland took over the team, but they did not rejoin the Negro Southern League until 1926, the league's first season after a 2-year hiatus. In that first season under the Peak-Strickland ownership, they once again spent more time playing on the road than in Atlanta. This was due to Atlanta's blue laws, which forbade games being played on Sunday, which were typically big drawing days for black ball clubs. Due to this, there isn't much known about the team around this time, as they received almost no local press. The influential black newspaper, the Atlanta Daily World, did not start publishing until 1928 and did not become a daily until 1932. The Atlanta Constitution only gave sporadic coverage. When the team rejoined the Negro Southern League in 1926, they were owned solely by H.J. Peak, who no longer had the team travel by train as it was way too expensive. Instead, they traveled by car, driving themselves in order to save money. This did not help the team, as they ended up going bankrupt before the end of the season, finishing with a 10-17 record in the first half and a 7-17 record in the second half, ending with an overall record of 17-34. They returned to the Negro Southern League in 1927, only playing 16 games, finishing with a 4-12 record. The league did not play in 1928 or 1930, seeing the Black Crackers once again play as a barnstorming team in those years. The league came back in 1929, with the Black Crackers only playing 6 league games, finishing 3-3. The league returned once again in 1932 with the Black Crackers as members. On December 16, 2020, the 1932 Negro League season was recognized by Major League Baseball as a Major League season. This is largely due to the collapse of the first Negro National League following the 1931 season. The team got off to a rough start and was never able to recover, dropping out in July with a 6-17 record. In one game in early May against the Montgomery Gray Sox, they were demolished 11-1. Hall of Famer Cristobal Torriente played some games for the team that season in what was his last season playing ball. In 1938, manager Don Pelham attempted to get him to return, but there are no records of him playing that season. 1933 and 1934 were once again played as an independent barnstorming team. Before the start of the 1935 season, the league held a meeting in Memphis to organize the season. W.B. Baker, a sports promoter, represented Atlanta, wishing to bring back the Black Crackers. When organizing his team, he did something that had never been tried before by previous owners. He looked outside of Atlanta for players, hoping some big-name talent would help draw fans in. He signed Tommy Thompson from Memphis, Norman Cross from the Chicago American Giants, and 16-year veteran George Bennett. Their home opener saw a 7-6 victory over the Memphis Red Sox. Unfortunately, after that, they went on a losing streak, which led to declining attendance and more financial struggles. Due to the declining attendance, the Crackers threatened to no longer allow them to play on the highly coveted Sunday afternoons, with Sunday baseball appearing to have become legal in 1934, unless things changed. Baker reached out to local black businesses to help advertise the team, which worked as they drew their largest crowd in a winning effort against the Birmingham Black Barons. This led the Crackers' president, Earl Mann, to continue to allow Baker's team to play at Ponce de Leon Park. Unfortunately, this success was short-lived, with them being unable to maintain their fan support, dropping from the league in early August with a 4-7 record. Businessman Percy Williams did not want to see the Black Crackers drop out of the league and stepped in, vowing to finance the team. He was able to secure interest from other local businessmen and kept them in the Negro Southern League. He reverted back to using local talent for the team and tried to find a different, less expensive ballpark for them to play in. Unfortunately, he died unexpectedly on April 26, 1936, leaving the team's future in doubt. His widow gave verbal support, and the other owners were able to keep his dream alive. They started off well, earning many victories behind the strong pitching of Snook Wellmaker. In early June, though, he was lured away by Hall of Famer Cumberland Posey of the Homestead Grays, seeing the Black Crackers flounder after he left. They finished with a 10-5 record in what was the last season of the Negro Southern League. In 1937, ownership of the team was taken over by a Mr. M. Shane, who put together a strong team that played as an independent. They traveled north, facing teams in the major Negro National League. This helped revive a lot of interest in Southern black baseball. His club won 2 games against the Chicago American Giants, 8-2 and 6-1. After the games, Chicago's manager, Candy Jim Taylor, had nothing but praise for the Atlanta squad, saying they might have been the best team his club faced all season. In 1938, ownership of the team was taken over by John and Billy Hardin, who owned a filling station that was located on Auburn Avenue. They had to battle other local businessmen who were also interested in running the Black Crackers. The Hardins bought a team bus, brand new uniforms, and increased the roster to 15 players. They worked with Earl Mann to schedule as many Black Crackers games as possible at Ponce de Leon Park, with both teams benefiting from the arrangement. According to Billy Hardin, Earl Mann treated her and the Black Crackers well whenever they played in his park. If she had a problem, she could take it to him. If there were any changes to be made, he always notified her. She once said that when the Black Crackers were playing in Ponce de Leon Park, they had access to the whole park. The biggest crowds always came out whenever the Kansas City Monarchs came to town, as everyone wanted to see them play. Things, though, were different when the team traveled on the road. There were some ballparks where they were not allowed to play. When that happened, they would look for an open field to play in, roping off the playing area, allowing fans to sit behind the ropes. It was also not uncommon for black players to not be allowed to dress and shower at the ballparks used by white teams. In those situations, they would have to dress before arriving to the ballpark and find a place to clean up after the game. For that 1938 season, they joined the Major League Negro American League. They won the second half league title, finishing with an overall record of 30-31 to earn the right to face the first half champions, the Memphis Red Sox, in the league championship series. The Black Crackers lost the first 2 games in Memphis, 6-1 and 11-6. The series was scheduled to switch to Atlanta before it ran into a conflict. It was a standard practice by the league to have the home team supply the umpires for the games. The Black Crackers lost all 8 of their games in Memphis that season, with many saying it was due to biased umpires. After hosting the first 2 games, the Red Sox refused to travel to Atlanta, where they assumed the umpires would be against them, making it impossible for them to win any games. This led to league president Dr. R.B. Jackson to cancel the rest of the series, declaring that there would be no champion. At the league's winter meetings in February 1939, the Red Sox were declared the champions due to their 2 victories. The 1938 team was described in newspapers as a team of small but speedy ball hawks with a keen eye at the plate, making them dangerous hitters. They were led by catcher Jim P. Green, who was described as a giant of a man who could hit a ball a long way and make his pitchers look good no matter what they threw. 22-year-old second baseman Gabby Kemp anchored the infield. He had an outstanding athletic and academic career at Morris Brown University, where he posted varsity letters in baseball, track, basketball, football, and debate. He's the only student in the school's history to receive 5 letters in 1 year. He joined the Black Crackers as a 19-year-old shortstop in 1935, becoming manager in 1938. He spent all but 1 season in Atlanta between 1935 and 1947 and toured with Jackie Robinson's All-Stars in 1949. Red Moore, who was inducted into the Atlanta Sports Hall of Fame, played first base with Pee Wee Butts at short. Butts and Kemp made a tough double play combo, with Butts using a sidearm delivery and sharpened his spikes to keep runners from trying to take him out. Their outfield was incredibly strong, with left field being manned by Don Pelham, who some called the Colored Ruth. He led the team with 16 home runs. Center field was owned by Red Hadley, and Don Reeves controlled right field. In August, they took 4 straight games from the Kansas City Monarchs and followed that up by sweeping the Memphis Red Sox at home. The team's success on the field, though, did not lead to financial success. The Hardins moved the team to Indianapolis for the 1939 season to play as a new version of the Indianapolis ABCs. The league wanted them to move to Cleveland, but the Hardins refused. Louisville was also suggested, but the Louisville Blackcaps did not want to share their ballpark. Though the team appears to have played league games in Indianapolis as the ABCs, they were also playing exhibition games in other cities, including Atlanta, as the Black Crackers, or at least the Atlanta press was calling them the Black Crackers. In the middle of June, they were scheduled to play league games in Indianapolis against the Cleveland Bears and the Memphis Red Sox, but Hardin moved those games to Atlanta. This led the team being expelled from the league during a meeting in June. At the meeting, Hardin said the reason the games were moved was because he was told that Perry Stadium in Indianapolis was not available. He even showed that his $75 money order to reserve the ballpark was returned. Hardin felt that he was railroaded by the league as he was given no advance warning about the expulsion. Within a week of being expelled, all his players received lucrative offers from other teams in the league, which is what he believed was behind the expulsion. His best players did eventually sign with other teams, with Hardin continuing to field a club that played exhibition games. He eventually let his best players sign with other teams and continued to field a club that played exhibition games, but he ended up dissolving that team later in the summer. And that ends the story of the first Atlanta Black Crackers ball club. In March 1943, a second Black Crackers team was formed, playing as an independent barnstorming club. This team was organized by local businessmen who convinced John Hardin to join the ownership. In February 1945, a second Negro Southern League was formed in Knoxville, Tennessee, with the Black Crackers being invited to join. They were also invited to join the United States League, which was formed in January. That league was organized by Branch Rickey and Gus Greenlee, the owner of the original Pittsburgh Crawfords. Rickey anticipated the integration of Major League Baseball and wanted to use the league as a way to scout black players. The United States League was composed of teams in northern cities, with Louisville being the closest to Atlanta. This led Hardin to choose to join the Southern League due to the close proximity of the other teams. They had an amazing season with several big bats and stellar pitching, leading them to the league pennant after winning both halves of the season. They returned to the Negro Southern League once again in 1946, but it was their barnstorming that kept the team afloat. For the 1948 season, they moved over to the newly organized Negro American Association. Play in the league turned out to not be as profitable as hoped, with the Black Crackers taking on even more exhibition dates. For the first time in the club's history, fans were able to follow them by radio whenever they were on the road that season. Due to the integration of Major League Baseball and the growth of television, interest in Negro League Baseball fell, with the Atlanta Black Crackers shutting down for good following the 1949 season, which they once again played in the Negro American Association, which also folded following the season. Well, my fellow minor league nerds, that does it for this episode. Be sure to like and subscribe to the YouTube channel or podcast platform of your choice to be notified whenever a new episode is released. And also be sure to give us a follow on Blue Sky, Instagram, and Threads. Until next time, stay safe and remember to never stop supporting minor league baseball and never stop learning about minor league baseball history.
This podcast is part of the Curved Brim Media Network. Here are some of the other members of Curved Brim Media.
Hi, this is Ed Rivera of the Data Chronicles. Join me as I interview people just like you and players, coaches, GMs on the path that led you to become a fan of the sport.
I'm Paul Caputo, and on the Baseball by Design podcast, I talk to minor league baseball teams, designers, and other super interesting people about what these minor league baseball logos mean, and I talk a little bit about ice cream helmets.
What's up, Bucketheads? I'm Anna DiTomaso, and each week on the Baseball Bucket List podcast, I speak with a different fan about their favorite baseball memories, what the game means to them, and what's left to check off on their baseball bucket list.
Hey everyone, it's Eric from the great state of Kansas.
This is Johnny from the New Orleans Baby Cakes Memorial Museum.
And we are the Earn Fun Average podcast,
where we talk to a variety of guests about their love of baseball and have fun doing it.
America, lower your standards.
Average is what we do best.
This is Patrick and Corey of BaseballMapper.com, and we have made an interactive map to help highlight all baseball teams from the majors down to collegiate summer leagues.
We want to bring you closer to baseball, so get on the site and find a team near you today.
Hey guys, this is Patrick Larson from the Minor League Baseball Hat History Series, and in every episode I go through the history of minor league teams through my personal collection of hats. You can find me on Twitter at PatLarson1. I hope you guys enjoy.
Learn more about Curved Brim Media at curvedbrimmedia.com.